Lots of clover has been seeded this year, maybe 6 pounds or so. I did most of that in the spring, which I don't think was the ultimate time to seed, really. I've got another pound or so in there. I'll probably run around in the fall. Again, I don't get into the details very much. I know there's specifics on this, there's specifics on that, and some of them matter. Some of them really matter. Those are the basic ones that everyone already knows. Some of the other things that people get really picky about in their gardens, I just let it take its just let it do its thing, plain and simple. If it dies, it dies. That means it didn't need to be there, or it was weak to begin with. And I want good, strong plants to compound on to really cover this area with. Those are potatoes from the old bed that were underneath this hugel mound, probably at least a foot under it, and they just popped right on up, of course, like they would. Lots of things got ruined. Of course, this entire area was gardened last year, and now it all got ripped up and applied into a new direction. Here we've got some chicken food. Damn, he's an aggressive one. Almost think he's gonna bite me. Let's take him over real quick. So here's where we were. Actually, these hugel beds around here where the chopped head sunflowers are, supporting the earth. Here I'm trying to play with 2 mulberry trees and just kind of bonsaiing them, keeping them cropped back way far, and then these need to trim again, but trying to give them some kind of neat design. Beans. This would be a 3rd-year bed here. More white sage, more carrot seed coming soon, so that's a 2nd-year carrot. More burdock and flax, more onions. Again, black nightshade. I let it grow anywhere it wants to. Them chickens will eat it all up. Peas. You do pea harvest. Peppers. And asparagus right over here, growing up through the skull. Here we've got sweet potatoes just now starting, and this is a wild weed flower. Put off really pretty blue flowers. It'll start that soon enough. I cannot remember what it's called. I want to say spiderwort or something, maybe. It's got real pretty flowers. Just a little water feature for the animals. So here we can see a little better the pond / sink. It's really more what it is. It'll very likely never be full, though I may very well try to seal the bottom 2 feet or something in order to make a small water feature down there. But it's more to pull the water from all over the property, stick it down here where it soaks out into the hugel beds, into the sides, and then of course down back into the water table right by my pump. More beans and anything I can to get to hold these sides up, which are holding just fine. Cucumbers. This whole hugel mound is all fresh this year, all new, including the area I'm standing on here. And everything's even growing in it really well. Surprising, but indeed, if you look at the tomatoes here, they're very healthy. Everything's looking very fresh and green. And that'll only improve as we go along, and the wood core in there starts to rot, doing its thing, making that sponge. We'll come around to the back side here of it all, where we have lots of wild sunflowers. And if obviously you let these things go, you just let them do their thing. If it's in your way, you get rid of it. You chop it and drop it, but it's not. So it's tons of biomass that I can use. Let it grow. Look at how prolific these guys are. These, now I'm gonna have a brain for it. Let it lay there for the chickens. Some of it'll grow, some of it'll head out next year. Anyway, they grow everywhere back here. They're just super prolific. For whatever reason, I cannot think of the name, because I've been saying it for the last 20 minutes probably. Here's even a potato coming up out of here. Now this really blows my mind, because this one is coming. Again, there would have been a bed underneath this hugel mound. This hugel mound right now settled is about 3 feet high, 3.5 feet high. So that potato has grown up through that hugel bed at least 4 foot from being in the ground. Awesome. Cucumbers. Here we have choke cherry, I think, or maybe it's American plum. It's putting off tons of suckers, so I need to come over here and get some of these up and plant them somewhere else, because that's how we do things. This is a wild mulberry, I'm assuming. So we'll let it grow up, start maybe sculpting it a bit. More rhubarb, more tomatoes, more cucumbers. There's a pawpaw tree. Need to get another one or two. And then back here we have 2 plums, apple, crab apple, and another apple. In this tiny little area. Okra. This stuff is it grows so easy. I love it. And obviously the plants get really huge. So anywhere you have space, just let the stuff grow. Just let it grow. Look at them all. Hundreds of them. They'll self-thin themselves to some degree, I bet. The rest I'll chop down myself. Select some big plants. Pokeweed, artichoke, potatoes, onions. I've got 2 currant bushes that I transplanted back here recently because they were doing piss poor where they were, and I don't want them to go away. So hopefully they will do their thing back here, get healthier where it's bit shadier. I think they kind of like the shade a bit more. More burdock, more second year carrot, more of that weed with the pungent, awesome smell that I can't figure out. Asparagus. All the asparagus is from seed, so it's like super slow. It'll be a couple years before I get anything at all. The oldest I have is a 3-year-old plant, and it just barely put off anything this year that would have been worth taking. Peppers, more okra, more cucumber. These areas back here have just been very, very tough to grow much of anything. But the okra is just jumping all over the place, so let it rock. I think this guy here might be one of my squashes, luckily, because butternut squash that I want to grow out here, which would be the only variety that I want to grow, so I'm not cross-pollinating those, didn't put off very good seeds, I guess, last year in the fruit, and I just didn't have very much success, very many of them popping up in very many places. I think this is one of the few, so hopefully I can remedy that this year and not have to buy more. Here we see basil, of all things, back here in this corner where I've never even come close to planting it back here. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them coming up. I'm glad to see this grape is back. Red Catawba. Planted last year, didn't make it, it seemed like, but it's regenerating itself. Good example for not going around and ripping out dead things. Sometimes they come back. As long as they have a root system that can support that kind of a thing. The top's dead, the top is dead. I mean, if it breaks, it's dry and cracked, it's dead, but it doesn't mean it might not come back from the root system. On the other side of the fence here we have more of those American plums and cucumbers and some kind of unknown plant down there. Not sure what you are. We'll find out someday. More beans over here. You can see the interesting formations of logs that I just pile around here. Now obviously anybody in permaculture knows that these are housing bugs, they're housing reptiles. They're decomposing, obviously, and this is what it would be like in nature. Hugel beds are beautiful, but it's not very natural at all. We're recreating similar conditions as nature in that kind of situation. But this is really how it operates, right? A tree falls down in the forest, it's there, it rots. So I explore both. See where we're coming from over there. Hopefully this video isn't too screwed up. Me being a terrible speaker with a crappy camera, and I probably wouldn't make a damn cameraman anyway. So this is another one of these areas over here that just haven't done much at all for me. I do have some cucumbers going back there. When I moved in, this is like a big fire area, so who knows what kind of shit could have been in the